So I know when you look at job postings and salaries on UX and UI designers, they look great, but like, what is somebody that's been in it for 10 years actually getting paid? And what has their journey been at all these different milestones of their salary? So today I want to break you down a little bit more about and bring some transparency of like what my titles were and what those actual salary increments were all the way along up until today to where now I'm working for myself and a founder. So stay tuned, we'll get into that more in the video. All right, so year number one, I graduated with a degree in graphic design or visual communication design. It took me about 6 months of looking for jobs, applying to everything I could to find my first role. I remember being super stoked because this first role was $68,000, which nowadays doesn't seem like a lot, but at the time it was more money than I ever made in my life. I think previously the highest I ever got was like $22 an hour, something like that. So year one, no experience except for some internships. And it was based out of a Seattle office. And so that was year one. I really worked on some wireframes for their homepages, explorations for some of their personas and helping them refine some of those things. And I worked really a lot hand in hand with their senior and managers there to help me do that. And yeah, and that was very short-lived. And then I got laid off about 6 months later, which felt like the end of the world at the time, but ended up being a blessing in disguise in the long run. Year number two, after I got laid off, it took another 6 months to find another job. An interesting transitional period too in my career and time, as I just got done ending an engagement. Thought, hey, let's apply to Seattle jobs and Arizona jobs, and whatever one get, I'll just take. And so about 6 months after I started applying, I got my next job in Arizona, packed up my life, moved down there. That jumped me $10,000 and got me to $78,000 a year. And more money than I ever made. So that layoff actually ended up being a blessing in disguise. Ended up being a net positive. About a year after I got a $2,000 raise, which was pretty, nothing, but it did crack me into the 80K, which I just thought was a cool number to be able to do. And then about 8 months after that, so a year and 8 months total, the company decided to shut down that office. And so I was like two back-to-back companies that had some sort of big change happening. They offered to move and headquarters in Austin, Texas, but my parents had just moved down to Arizona at the time, so I decided against that. All right, we just got done filming the podcast. We talked about the journey along the way, the entrepreneurship, the ups, the downs, the goods, the bads. And being over here, a little sentimental. So now we're into year three-ish, I would say. So I decided not to take the role in the Austin office. And so what I did was start looking for jobs. It took me a couple of months, and so I found one, but it was in Arizona. And that job was $95,000 and wonderful, right? Like this was my third job after graduating school, and I was like on cloud nine because my whole goal was to be able to hit 100K before I hit 5 years of experience. So super awesome until I got into the role. And then after about 3 months in, I fucking hated it and decided I would start looking for another job. No matter how much this paid, I would take a pay cut, honestly, before I would continue working here. So shortly after that, about 3 months of looking, I found another job, and that was $110,000. And so that was kind of like year 3-ish, 4-ish in my UX journey. With this $110,000 job, this was at a startup out of Arizona that got acquired by a larger Fortune 500 company. And so I was part of like a 4 to 5 person design team split across different teams. The company was actually acquired by Allstate. And so it was a small to mid-sized startup. They got the deep pockets of a, huge company. And so that helped play a part in why I was able to achieve and why I got that salary of 110 grand. So just for context. So I just had to spend like a last couple of hours in a frantic rush to clean our house because we're in the process of selling it. And we have a showing today. So frantically cleaned the whole thing, replaced some light bulbs, got it ready for the showing. And then now I'm off to take the 2 dogs. We're babysitting 1 dog this weekend to go meet my fiance for lunch. Gonna do a little bit of that, and then I think we're gonna take them for a walk. So to start off, we got, oh wow, we got 4 of them.
I didn't mean to.
Wow. So we got some of these Protein House little mini sweet potato brownies.
They're really yum.
So we'll see how they are.
What did you do with his cake?
These are pretty good. These are way better than last time. 8 out of 10. We got the bison burger, some sweet potato rounds, and then a brownie. Okay, so we moved jobs. We're at $110,000, but with that salary came a lot of new responsibilities. So this was the first time ever in my career that I had to start owning the end-to-end process of design. So previously in all the other roles, there was a lot of help from senior designers and from managers to help me run research, to do more of the UX and the strategy side of things. But in this new role at this place, I had to kind of fill and be that senior designer and kind of own the end-to-end product and projects of the areas that I was working on, as I was like the only designer on like my team, and there would be other teams with other designers. But the thing that was interesting about that is I wasn't actually like technically a senior UX or product designer. I just had to take on those roles and responsibilities. There were other like lead designers that I learned a lot from over the time, but that was interesting. And so about a year after I started that role, I then got a pay bump that brought me up to $113,000. And if you've gotten to this point in the video, first off, like and subscribe if you're liking the content. Secondly, you might also notice the theme of I'm clearly getting much bigger pay jumps by moving jobs, and 2,000 here, 3,000 there has kind of been the theme. If you're only staying at a job, you don't get very much of a raise, but job humping or job jumping definitely ends up being a better rate, or to a higher income. So that was about a year after being at this place, and then got the $3,000 raise, and then worked for another about 8 months at this place. And right around then was probably right when I was hitting around that 5-year career mark, kind of that like pivotal moment where you become like that senior designer. But I was also hitting this like extreme burnout point, and I questioned whether I even wanted to be in design at all. And with that, there was a lot of drama going on at the company that I got roped up into, and so I ended up leaving the company right after about a year and 8 months. And then I, took some time off. Food was pretty damn good. Now, go and get a car wash. we took a couple months off. We ventured off onto our own. And we decided we were going to go the consulting route and the contracting route. And so I picked up a number of contracts from a handful of different clients. And over the next couple of years, I ended up bringing in, it ranged a little bit, but on my best year, I brought in, I believe it was around $310,000, which is insane. I almost tripled what I was making at my day job previously. And so obviously, there was times and months that were low, times and months that were good. But over the year and a half or 2 years that I had been doing the consulting thing, overall it was net better than previously. And so that was super awesome. And I, loved it. It gave me some time to travel, to go across to Bali and Indonesia and things like that. And so that was super awesome. And it showed me what entrepreneurship can do. And it really got my fire going. I told myself I was never going to go back to a full-time job after that, to be honest. But we came back, and I feel like some of the consulting and in the time in the economy was kind of drying up a little bit. So I found it harder and harder to find contracts. I think looking back, I just maybe not put in the effort that needed to be to find them, or hadn't really had the exposure of how to actually find people and clients a little bit more than I had. But needless to say, eventually I ended up going and taking a full-time role that I could just not pass up on. Consulting it's up and down all the time, and so there's no guarantee of what you're going to do. And I also put in a ton of hours. I was working 7 days a week, 8 to 10 hour days. It was like a race to see burnout. And that's partly why I stopped doing contracting at the time. Is it was just go, 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 tons and tons. But when I did take this full-time role, it seemed great. It was, 4-day work week, and ended up getting a salary higher than I could have imagined. And I came in at $178,000, which was awesome for a full-time role. It had 401k benefits, unlimited PTO, all that stuff. And so I was excited. I came in as a senior product designer. And then after 1 year there, I got a bump in pay to a senior manager, and that brought me to 197,350 is what it was. And so, yeah, that's where my journey kind of came to an end in terms of the roles. I decided, a while ago I got laid off, and I decided, time to go full time on my own entrepreneurial journey again, because I had done it in the past. And so that's kind of where we are as of today. That brings us around the 10 year mark. And, I have been working with clients already and doing that. So we have things going. I expect it'll be a dip a little bit for a number of months before it starts climbing back up. And luckily, because I knew I was going to be taking time off, quitting, and going for it, I have saved up many years of runway. So money is not an issue right now, and it allows me the time and the freedom to be able to do that. And so we're keep on pushing on. So hopefully that gives you some insight into what a realistic product designer's journey from graduating college all the way until now venturing off on their own, and what those salary and roles and responsibilities are. So leave in the comments if you got any more questions. Do you want more information about individual jobs and things of that? Yeah, be curious to hear.